It was the end of one of the most dramatic experiences in gaming history. A trilogy filled with memorable moments, endearing characters, and impossible choices. Commander Shepard's war against the Reapers had finally led to this. But when all was said and done, the ending to the Mass Effect trilogy just felt wrong. Hello everyone, I'm Jack Fisher and welcome to my world. And for many fans of the Mass Effect franchise, the controversy over Mass Effect 3's ending is still a point of frustration. Even with the extended cut DLC, there's just no getting around it. Those who experienced it felt upset, unsatisfied, and outright betrayed. Now for me personally, I was lucky. I did not play the full trilogy until years after the ending was expanded. So my experience with the ending was very different. But despite that perspective, I concede that the ending to Mass Effect 3 has flaws. There's still plenty of discourse surrounding this topic. The entire validity of the ending was even called into question with the indoctrination theory that was set forth by fans. But I'm not here to debate whether Mass Effect 3's ending needs to be fully retconned. After playing through this trilogy multiple times, experiencing every possible ending from every possible angle, I am now ready to share my personal take on this contentious topic. And if I had to sum it up in a single sentence, it would be this. In the long run, the Destroy ending was the worst ending. Now, I suspect that's a minority view. The mechanics of the game imply that this ending is the, quote, best ending. You don't try to control the Reapers like the Elusive Man wanted. You don't try to synthesize biological life with synthetic life as the Catalyst preferred. You simply opt to destroy the Reapers, end the war, and rebuild the galaxy. It's blunt, it's simple, it completes Commander Shepard's mission, even offering up clear indication that Shepard survives. But the second you start scrutinizing it, this ending starts to feel more flawed than final. The Catalyst does make clear that this recourse comes at a cost. This won't just destroy the Reapers, it'll wipe out all other synthetic life. That means the Geth and EDI are lost. Even if you went to great lengths brokering peace between the Geth and the Quarians, then everything they did to help you just feels hollow, to say nothing of the grief that Joker would probably feel for losing EDI. But the biggest flaw of this ending isn't just emotional, it's philosophical. Destroying all synthetic life in the galaxy does not end the conflict between organics and synthetics, it just delays it. The Catalyst warns Shepard that developing synthetic life is inevitable. It's just a natural byproduct of any civilization reaching a certain stage of development. It happened with the Protheans, it happened with the Quarians, it even happened with the original race that created the Reapers. So, in the short term, destroying the Reapers ends the galactic war, but it doesn't resolve the central problem between organics and synthetics. It might not manifest for thousands of years, but it will happen eventually, and for all we know, it will take a form that's even worse than the Reapers. So, depending on your choices, the so-called best ending still feels like a loss. And if what the Catalyst says is true, then you didn't save the galaxy, you just doomed it to repeat the same mistakes. Now, the Control and Synthesis endings are far from perfect, and the less said about the Refuse ending, the better. But if you apply the same scrutiny to those endings, they do make more sense in the long run. They're also more satisfying on certain levels. From a purely emotional standpoint, the Synthesis ending hits a lot harder. Because unlike Control or Destroy, you don't get this ending, you earn it by amassing a certain amount of war assets. And while the dialogue from the Catalyst fails to fully explain it, this recourse does work better in the grand scheme of things. The creation of the Reaper threat was built around the conflict between organic and synthetic life. The Quarians best embody this struggle, and if you make the right decisions throughout the trilogy, it is possible for both to coexist peacefully. So, in that sense, the Synthesis ending is an extension of that choice. It just goes further by blurring the barriers between organic and synthetics. How it does this, that's not entirely clear. Aside from the greenish glow of everyone's faces, we really don't know what this process does to individuals, be they organic or synthetic. Do they still retain their personality? Do they still have their own thoughts and feelings? These questions aren't fully answered, But they don't have to be for this ending to work. The way Edie describes this new state of being lays the foundation. Regardless of the details, the cycle the Reapers perpetuated for millennia is broken. We see it in the subtle interactions between Edie and Joker. This new state runs deeper than simply an absence of conflict. Now, organics and synthetics can work together to build something new, something that's potentially better. We don't know what it is, but we really don't have to know. The general hope for a brighter future is there. And unlike the Destroy ending, it doesn't set the stage for a similar problem down the line. Then, there's the emotional impact of this ending. When Edie said, "I am alive," I admit I got choked up. Those 3 words conveyed a level of emotion that just didn't happen with the other endings. It felt like a direct result of Shepard making the ultimate sacrifice to make this scenario happen. But that's another element that tends to leave players conflicted about the synthesis ending. Shepard has to die in this scenario. There's just no way around it. But in a sense, that makes the decision more meaningful. For 3 whole games, Shepard makes so many sacrifices. It seems fitting that the ultimate sacrifice would be necessary to finally end this conflict. It's poetic, it's definitive, and the fact that this ending leaves no possibility for Shepard to come back to life, that helps give it dramatic weight. Sure, the Destroy ending carries some weight by indicating that Shepard survives, but it's so vague and brief that it just doesn't hit as hard. By contrast, the Control ending doesn't have this problem. Of all the other endings, I think Control benefited the most from the extended cut DLC, because the end sequence has Shepard effectively narrating the aftermath. The voice is modulated with the undertone of the Reapers, but there's a distinct sense that Shepard is still alive to some extent. We see a similar sequence to the Synthesis ending, and like Synthesis, this ending spares synthetic life. So technically, everyone loses the least with this ending, including Shepard. There's far less vagueness about the link between organic and synthetic life. The Control ending keeps things simple. The war is now over because the Reapers are no longer a threat. Shepard has control over them, and now they're helping to rebuild after this devastating conflict. But that can also be seen as the biggest flaw of this ending. By taking control of the Reapers, Shepard is now this godlike being, capable of wielding an unstoppable army. Even if you play through the game as a pure paragon, ascending to this level of power might not sit right. But you could make the case that this ending still works. From the moments of the first game, Shepard's mission always centered around ending this war and uniting the galaxy. By controlling the Reapers, this goal is achieved. And even if Shepard's mind becomes corrupt, then it should be relatively easy to just send the Reaper armies into the nearest black hole. That's never stated as a failsafe, but the possibility is implied. In terms of overall emotional impact, the Control ending does not hit as hard as Synthesis, but from a narrative standpoint, I'd still argue it works better than any other ending. It echoes the sentiments of both the Elusive Man and Saren Arcturus. They believed that they needed to control the Reapers rather than destroy them. However, their motivations for doing so were always suspect, even before they were indoctrinated. The Elusive Man made clear that he never sought peace, he only sought human dominance. Controlling the Reapers was just a means to that end. And part of what makes the Destroy ending feel so flawed is that it paints his plan as idiotic. It further implies that control of any synthetic life is a losing battle. But the Control ending confirms that the Elusive Man wasn't stupid, nor was Saren. They were right in their belief that the Reapers could be controlled. They just weren't the right ones to exercise that control. In the same way, not everyone is suited to wield power, they just weren't capable of doing the right thing for the galaxy at large. But Commander Shepard was different. Shepard resisted indoctrination. It doesn't matter if the players followed the path of a renegade or a paragon. They guided Shepard in a way that rendered no one else more qualified for this responsibility. By the end of Mass Effect 3, it's not framed as something that's done for selfish reasons. The intention always comes back to ending the war, saving lives, and creating a better future for everyone, not just humanity. Both the Control and Synthesis endings achieve that, but the Destroy ending only achieves part of it. Maybe that was intentional. Maybe BioWare wanted to leave the door open for more stories down the line. But regardless of their plans, there's just no getting around it. The Destroy ending is incomplete. It only ends one big conflict at a high personal cost, and it does nothing to prevent a similar conflict from unfolding in the future. The Synthesis and Control endings aren't perfect by any stretch, but they are better. And, most importantly, they're definitive. They deliver a critical sense of finality to this epic gaming saga. In the end, there was never going to be a conclusion to this branching story that satisfied everyone. As flawed as the original ending was, what we eventually got helped alleviate many of those flaws. Now, I don't doubt that debate over the ending will continue. There are fans who won't accept any of the endings this trilogy offered. But like any great story, the conclusion doesn't matter as much as the journey along the way. In that regard, Mass Effect will always be special. It was more than just a series of video games. It was a truly special experience. Regardless of what happens with this franchise moving forward, that will always be its greatest legacy. Thanks for watching, everyone, and thanks for joining me in my world. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, take care and stay safe. Now, I should go.